Hello, my name is Jeff. This is Castle Villager Home Defense Network. Yes, you heard it right. Okay. Um, I had a video, I don't know, a couple weeks ago about talking about use of deadly force for property, and I just want to round it off a lot. I'm currently trying to make my class syllabus for the use of deadly force, and um, this is a tough topic when you're doing it, when you're trying to give general information, when you're dealing with deadly force for property. It is very it runs the gamut to, you can't do it to it being an absolutely ridiculous flowchart. Okay. And that's why I don't really get into that. If you are in a specific state, I think you should learn it from that specific state when you're coming from it. But this is basically what it is. Okay, let's get this out of here. Open it up a little bit. This is one of my resources for defensive property, and I just want to say this. It really depends on your state. I'm just going to give you some general information where the possibility of what your possibility of the state is. When I teach stuff, it's basically coming from the Model Penal Code. Basically, the Model Penal Code is an amalgam of beard scratchers from universities and law professors who get together and they try to even out everything. The Model Penal Code is horrible when it comes to using deadly force with property. Okay, it's almost worthless. Now, if you're like Massachusetts, Ohio, Minnesota, there is no provision to use deadly force to protect your property. And I want to tell it in this fashion. We're not talking about homes. We're not talking about cars sometimes, okay? We are talking about highly defensible places, places of abode, okay? So if your law allows you to protect your car from a stand your ground law, I'm not talking about that. But you got to be careful with that again. Again, we're getting into a flow chart. You have to go through this, and yes here, no here, then it becomes this, back to this paragraph, blah, blah, blah. In general, you cannot use deadly force to protect your car with no occupants. However, if there is an occupant in some states, you can use deadly force because you are protecting that person in there. Maybe you have a 3-year-old child, whatever the circumstances is. So again, let's get back onto track. Massachusetts, Minnesota, Ohio. I don't know if Massachusetts actually has a provision, because what Ohio and Minnesota will say is no, you can't use deadly force to protect property unless they're threatening you in that manner. Then it becomes a self-defense kind of scenario. So they'll always have some kind of provision. I don't remember if Massachusetts has that type of provision. Now, let's go to the opposite end of the flow chart. New York. I'm not going to go through New York. I mean, if you look at New York, this is basically New York, starting right here, defense of property. And defense of property. Then it goes relating to burglary, forcible rape. You know, some of these states, like I've said in a previous, are going to have enumerated violent felonies that you can use deadly force with to prevent sodomy, rape of a child, whatever, kidnapping, arson. Those are basically crimes against people. You can come to the aid of a third party, and I think people are going to be able to wrap their brains around it, being able to protect the third party, or protect yourself from those situations, because those are going to be crimes against a person, not crimes against property. So, because are you going to have the capability of, the perfect example is that that the person from Utah was saying, yes, well, let's back up a little bit more. He was making a comment of my proportional force story, that lesson, saying that, yes, he can use deadly force because it fell under one of those felonies. No, it didn't. When he dropped that gun, he no longer had an aggravated assault. It was a simple assault. If he truly believes that a person that is half your size with a bullet hole in you that has stumbled forward, if he views that stumbled forward as an aggressive act toward him, it's not an aggravated assault. Again, aggravated is having some kind of a weapon, like a gun, a knife, a baseball bat, in a threatening manner, compared to an assault, which is maybe with a fist, whatever, okay? So if he stumbled toward him, well, that was not an enumerated part of the black letter law of Utah. Assault is not enumerated in Utah law to use deadly force, okay? So that's the kind of thing that you have to do. Are you going to be able to say to yourself, huh, that is an aggravated assault, I am authorized to use deadly force? No. The proper way of thinking it, and I think this is going to be a better narrative for the jury, is that that person was being attacked by that person with a knife, and I was in fear for their life or great bodily harm, and that's why I interjected into it. Not, oh, I'm a hero because I stopped an aggravated assault. You know, what competing narrative is going to be better for you in that? Okay, if you're in New York, I strongly recommend that you go through this. I strongly recommend that you take a class that will help you go through that flow chart. But don't get caught in the weeds, okay? I'm just going to show this to you, okay? Now, Texas, oh my God. Texas is the flow chart from hell when it comes to defense of property and use of deadly force. I'm not even going to even mention the stuff. Forget about it. It's going to be something that you're going to have to decide. And the thing about it is, yes, Texas gives you a bunch of different options. Texas also gives you an option that is not legal during the daytime, but is legal at night. Okay? When is the definition of daylight to nighttime? Are you going to have to figure out, oh, it's nighttime, I can do this, but daytime I can't? The thing about defense of property, if it is a life and death equipment, now let's just say something ridiculous like a medical device that keeps somebody alive. If somebody goes into the house and they steal it, maybe use of deadly force would be probably appropriate for that. And in Texas, you can run away, and if they're running away, I won't get into it. I'm not going to get into a Texas law when it comes to use of deadly force and property. But you really have to internalize. You guys have to think. Was it worth it to shoot somebody, go through the process, all the legal hassles, maybe the civil lawsuit, depending on what state you're in? Is it really going to be worth it for a piece of property? And I will give you, there absolutely will be somebody who's going to be making a comment below or thumbs downing this video because if someone takes a piece of property from me, I'm just going to blow them away. Who the hell do they think they are? I'm just going to pump them full of lead. If I have 15 rounds in my gun, I'll still be firing the hammer after I ran out of bullets. That's how peed off I'm going to be because somebody wronged me. Okay? If you have that mentality, sell your gun. I'm sorry. That's the best life advice I can give to you. Again, I don't do legal advice. I give life advice. None of this constitutes as legal advice, okay? Private property. You really have to look into your state and see exactly what is justified. And if your state does have a provision for enumerated felonies, look at them. They're all crimes. They're generally all crimes against a person. My state of Minnesota, good old Minnesota, there is enumerated felonies, but they were only authorized inside the home. So it is a question if those enumerated felonies are legal to use deadly force outside the home. But again, I don't have to worry about it because they are crimes against people. Okay, my name is Jeff. This is Castle Jewelers. I hope this helped.